they say the herd is also antibacterial. Is that correct?
I wouldn't put a lot of weight on that. What you can say is hemp fabric, right, unlike the synthetics like the acrylics, it does engender health, right? It's when you say antibacterial, it doesn't foster the production of bacteria, right? But the herd itself, I'm not sure. The herd is almost pure cellulose.
I heard that the horsing fraternity and the veterinary society are looking at the fabric to be antibacterial. So, if you put it in the horse stable, you're protecting a $4 million horse.
Yeah, no, it's a little different. My understanding of this, and this started off in England, we're talking about animal bedding now. The problem that was first developed in England, when horses, especially in a damp or a humid climate, are placed on straw, the straw encourages the development of a thermophilic actinomycosis, which is a sort of fungus which actually causes asthma in the horses. Now, the hemp herd doesn't support the growth of the thermophilic actinomycoses, and therefore it's much healthier, and it's also much easier to clean up, and it composts down very well. So even if it's not antibacterial, it is a beneficial bedding in a long, long way.
You mentioned it, so it's a food for humans, but it's also very nice food for animals. It's a good way to feed animals, no? Cannabis seed.
Oh, indeed. I mean, we're in that happy day when we have so much hemp seed that all the humans are well fed. Certainly when there's a surplus, the chickens, for instance, do excellently on it. As a fish food for farm fish, the big problem we're having, because we've degraded our aquatic environments and we're now turning to aquaculture to produce the fish we need, they're now being fed basically on rubbish food. And rubbish in, rubbish out. You can't have a healthy organism fed on poor food. If we're using hemp seed, for instance, in aquaculture, there is nothing better. Because it's an omega-3 rich food, it'll produce an omega-3 rich product. Same with the egg, so there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
What part of the seed are they using for fish food? Are they using the whole seed?
The whole one.
Or is it de-seeded? Or
No, well, if you go back in history, it was much used in the 1800s. From what I gather, they just sort of basically mashed it up and formed it into little balls. That was the way it was done. But I mean, you just really have to grind up the whole seed.
I heard that if the seed was de-seeded or
De-hulled,
the hull is high in protein and could be pelletized and then fed to the fish industry.
That's not my understanding. I mean, the shell is basically a shell. It's like saying the peanut shell.
No
Nutrient.
Protein in it?
No. I mean, when I say no protein, it has a little bit of structural protein. The only nutrient you lose by hulling the seed is a little bit of calcium. So there's a fair bit of calcium in the shell. But for human acceptance, it's a lot easier to actually eat hulled hemp seed. Right? I mean, I find it completely acceptable when we're doing hemp harvest to actually just eat the seeds as they are, and you feel so much better for it. But for widespread application, especially for children, because we consider children's nutrition to be severely under quality at the moment, and we have to prepare it in a form that they'll actually eat. Now, having said that, everything you can make from soy or from dairy, you can make better from hemp seed. You can make a hemp seed ice cream. We're completely dairy-free. We've encountered no significant problems with allergies to the hemp seed, right? And yet it supplies all the nutrients you need to build a healthy body and a strong mind. Equally, instead of dairy milk, we can produce hemp seed milk, much better than soy milk without any of its negative factors, more nutritious and more delicious. But yeah, that's why we're using the whole hemp seed. It's a way of actually producing it in a form that spoiled humans. Well, I mean, in Nepal and places like that classically eat hemp seed, they just use the whole seed. They often roast them lightly and eat them that way. But, yeah.
Should we be afraid of feeding hemp products to our children?
Well, the system should be very afraid of feeding hemp foods to children because their brains will develop stronger and they'll be able to see through the web of lies that we're currently living in. But, I mean, hemp seed, it has no drug or intoxicating properties. It only has beneficial properties, right? But the only people who need fear that is the system that's trying to repress humanity, right? Because a well-nourished mind with plenty of omega-3 can think more clearly and more critically than a mind that's hypo-nourished. There's no doubt about that.
So it's safe to feed children hemp seed and products?
Well, it's beyond safe. It's not a question of safe. It's highly beneficial. We rely on hemp seed green smoothies for some of our sicker children, that the medicine by itself is not enough. It's an essential part of their healing. So it's not a question of is it safe. It is completely safe and totally beneficial. Right? There's no doubt about that. Right?
So is it true that in our brain there is a chemical receptor that only fit for CBD? Or
No,
yeah?
no, that's a misunderstanding. It doesn't only fit for THC or CBD. There's two at this stage receptors, CB1 and CB2. Very simply, they say the CBD is one is more dense in the brain and CB2 more dense in the immune system and the gut, right? But they weren't designed to ingest THC or CBD. They respond to chemicals called anandamide, or the bliss molecule, which is the endogenous cannabinoid, the cannabinoid that's within your body. It's even though the chemical nature of anandamide and CBD THC are very different, the conformational structure, when they're folded, they actually fit in the same receptor, right? I mean, why that is, everyone's speculating whether it's a blessing from some higher form or whatever, I don't know. It's only speculation, but it does occur. But there's endogenous cannabinoids and exogenous or phytocannabinoids. Yeah.
Alright. So it's a big misunderstanding.
It is, yeah, because the body has cannabinoid receptors for anandamide to bind to. And in fact, the anandamide is the most important homeostatic mechanism in the body. That's a mechanism that brings the body back into balance. That's why cannabis medicines work across such a broad range of unrelated conditions, because they all depend on the homeostatic functioning of the endocannabinoid system.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Alright.
I'm happy.
Thanks, Andrea.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Andrew.